Thank you, sir. So brief rundown through it. So House Bill 1200 will allow BMV to personalize a historic license plate. It allows a driver that has successfully passed driver's training to get a license at the age of 16 rather than 16 and 90 days. I've never really understood why it was 16 and 90 days. Back when I got my driver's license, it was 16 1 month and 1 day. So this just sets the standard with adjoining states that it is now 16. This requires BMV to give a CDL test in English only. Current federal regulations on CDL licensing, they may, according to FMCSA, give it in multiple languages, but this makes it clear that Indiana will only administer and give the test and grant CDLs to English proficient drivers. So you have to speak, read, and write English. Allows for remote testing for driver's licenses. Remote testing is not for a CDL. The remote testing would be, an example I can give you is somebody did their driver's training at 16, and rather than inconvenience them trying to get into BMV, this will allow for a proctored online test. Streamlines credential questions when applying for a license that are redundant. So we seem to be asking a lot of questions that we already have the information to, so this just really creates a streamlined process. We're making some technical corrections that changed 1 month to say 30 days, just for the clarity. Extends a vision examination validity period for seniors from 30 to 60 days. So currently Hoosiers at 75 years and older must submit a vision exam within 30 days of their renewal. It broadens the non-expired credentials for servicemen and women, allows for a rear view camera to be used in lieu of outside mirrors as long as the camera has a 200-foot clear view and the driver has access to that view. Expands the renewal of an ID card so that it can be done online. Sets a date of July 1st, 2026 for the removal of billboards that contain advertising for a Class 1 controlled substance in the state of Indiana. That's the brief rundown. Happy to jump into the weeds, and I know BMV is here also.
Yeah, any questions, Senator Byrne?
Yes, so the proctoring online is, I mean, I know that we do this at our universities or some, is there some guidelines on they have to use a certain browser to where it's locked down on the computer, or, I mean, how does that work then?
So that's probably a great question for BMV since they implement all that.
Okay. And the only other thing that I was curious about was the 200 foot on the cameras.
Yeah.
How will I know that that camera is functioning, or if I was a police officer or somebody that, I mean, how would they know that that's functioning or not?
Well, I guess, how would you know if the driver's actually using the mirrors?
True, but I mean, the mirrors are there. I just was curious on, or what if the camera gets dirt on it like mine does sometimes on the backup? I mean, so there's some scenarios there. I'm just sort of thinking, you know, what if, you know, they're driving down the road and, you know, when you got the salt on the road, that camera lens could be cloudy. I mean, are we having any concerns about any of that maybe?
I personally don't have those concerns. So really where this is going to apply to would be like in a bus scenario, right? So I've got these big long mirrors that stick out. As technology changes, we have the ability to use those cameras to where as a driver, I get an unobstructed view to really see what's going on behind me in real time, versus the camera, the mirror has very limited because it's broken up by the vehicle. So I can see the left side in the mirror, I can see the right side in the mirror, but I can't see directly behind me. So I think this creates a better safety performance, safety package. I think we could go back and forth all day long, and I appreciate the questioning, but my mirrors do get dirty, right? I have to clean those, so I could clean the camera. I think that when you're the person in charge and operating that motor vehicle, at some point, you have to take a little personal responsibility and make sure that your safety equipment is functioning fine, and you clean your windows and do all those things.
This would allow them to eliminate the mirrors, right?
It would allow them to eliminate the mirrors.
Yeah, I mean, that's my only thought on why would we eliminate. I like the cameras because you know, but I'm just curious why we would take, you know, maybe a safety feature that might be helpful. that,
Yeah, and
in
I think
certain
that when
situations.
it was brought to me, not to belabor this, but when it was brought to me is buses, like transit buses or the tour buses or, the bus that I get onto in South Bend and go to the airport, they're getting pretty wide and the mirrors are hanging way out there. And really, this is a good opportunity to get them off there and the driver can see a lot better. So it is an opportunity. It doesn't say you have to use them, but if you are using it, I think it's time to set those parameters up to where you have to be able to see at least 200 feet.
Okay.
Technology's changing around
Yeah,
us.
but it also will take away the mirrors too, if they want to.
Wouldn't have to if you
Well, I
wanted to.
know, but they
you
could though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's I
Absolutely.
guess that's my point. Thanks.
Any further questions on that? Okay, you want to go through the amendments?
Sure.
You want to start with 12?
We can start with 12. So last year, we had a House bill that removed the additional EV registration for, I think it was motor scooters. So there were I want to say there were almost 300 of them in the state, basically a glorified moped. And we being the state, we were charging them the $225 supplemental fee. Didn't seem fair that a small vehicle like that, a moped, we would charge them the full boat $225 of like we would a BEV 6,000-pound car. So we eliminated that last year and said we're not going to charge those. This goes a little step further and it includes low-speed vehicles. So if you can imagine a golf cart that's driving around, it's a side-by-side, and I had a hard time figuring out what a side-by-side was. So it was these Kubotas that sit 4 people in there. I didn't realize they were even battery operated. Again, we have about 350 of those in the state, and those individuals are paying the $225 or $226 supplemental fee. So this would take them out of there. I think it's a little bit unfair that we charge them the full fee for that. And in conversations with BMV just a few minutes ago, I thought maybe it's about the time we should have a conversation in the interim about what do we do with these smaller vehicles as they become more predominant. But what 12 would do would be eliminate the registration on low-speed vehicles.
Any questions? Can we take the amendment by consent? Consent. Okay, you got 12's in, 13?
13 is really simple. In the underlying bill, and I mentioned it in the brief overview, the date of July 1st, 2026 would be changed to October 1st, 2026. So in the original bill, I did have July 1st, 2020, or October 1st, 2026, and in committee, we took a chairman's amendment to move that forward. And in some conversations with the billboard industry, I think we've agreed that if I were to move the date back to, or we move the date back to October 1st, that they would be able to comply with this, and they would be able to remove all of the billboards around the state that advertise for a Class 1 controlled substance.
Any questions about this one? Can we take that amendment by consent? Consent. And now you go to the good one.
Here comes the big one. So amendment number 14. As you're all aware and probably paying attention into the news, that we do have some nefarious actors that may or may not have a CDL that have caused a lot of havoc, not only in the country, but in Indiana. This is not only an attempt to control that, but to send a strong message that in Indiana, we expect that if you're going to drive a commercial vehicle and have a CDL, that you need to be responsible, and the company that you're working for is culpable. They need to be responsible as well, along with a leased carrier to a company. So what this will do is it'll create a Class 6 felony if you're a CDL or supposedly a CDL certificated driver with false documentation. It will create a $50,000 fine for the motor carrier that individual is driving for. It also doesn't address just yet, but hopefully maybe we can get some movement on this, but the leased operator, in my mind, should be part of this also. So really, I think this is a step in the right direction as you see what's going on throughout the country. Florida is moving in a direction like this. Alabama is currently legislating on this. Oklahoma has sent a very strong message to say that we don't even care what the FMCSA is doing. We want safe drivers in Oklahoma, and I think this puts us one step closer to sending that message.
Any questions on this one? Senator Thomas.
If somebody's driving illegal, like we were seeing on the news, and kills somebody, is there the penalty stiffer then in that case, or does that factor in on anything?
It doesn't really factor into this part of it. Now, I go to LSA or somebody a lot smarter in the legal world than what I am, but I think if you kill somebody, I mean, I think you got other problems that wouldn't really apply to the $5,000 fine, but maybe this could be piled onto it. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the tragedies out there, and so.
Absolutely.
Senator Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Pressel, thank you very much for kind of outlining the amendments. Just a quick question. I mean, I understand what you're doing, and I agree with you to some degree, but just the level 6 felony, is that a little too harsh? I mean, is there a way that we could still make the point, but maybe not tack on a felony to somebody?
You know, I'm open to the conversation, and again, I'm not the attorney in the room, right? But I think we need to send a really strong message that this is just unacceptable practice. I mean, you are breaking the law.
Yeah,
so it's a great question as to what degree are you breaking the law? Does it deserve a felony? Does it deserve a felony 1? I'm open to conversations. Should it be an infraction? Should it be a misdemeanor?
Yeah.
I think just acknowledging that there is a problem, and if we all decide that maybe a felony 6 is too much, I don't believe that it is personally, because you are exercising a criminal activity that could cause severe injury and death in a lot of cases. I think you should be held to a higher standard as a commercial driver.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any further questions? Can we take that amendment by consent, or do you want a roll call? Consent. Okay. Got an amended bill. We've got a couple people signed up to testify. Since we just talked about this particular part of it, can we have Gary Langston come up and share his thoughts on the bill as amended?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Gary Langston with the Indiana Motor Truck Association, and I want to thank Representative Chairman Pressel for bringing this language today in this amendment, and I really appreciate you hearing it and taking it. Our industry spends billions of dollars every year in training, in equipment, in technology to try to be as safe as absolutely possible. That's our #1 focus as a trucking industry in the United States. We have been ravaged by a lot of bad activity, and that's no secret to any of you because you see it across the nation, and unfortunately, recently you have seen it more here in Indiana. So as to what degree of felony that should be, I don't know that, but these people are knowingly committing, getting these CDLs. I mean, they're, states like California and New York and some other states are handing these out like they're in a Pez dispenser. They have no qualifications to drive a truck. It's tough to drive a tractor trailer when you're properly trained. And when you don't have training, and these people don't have training, they have a piece of paper that they bought someplace, and they're driving these trucks, and you've seen the consequences of that. So I really appreciate this. Our group across the nation, the people who run trucking associations, has been working on plans to address these things for like 18 months, and we're starting to roll out some of these programs. And as Chairman Pressel said, this language is actually, it may seem tough, but it's actually kind of moderate compared to what some of the other states are actually doing. There are some that aren't quite as tough. There are some that are much tougher. We're kind of starting out on this in a more middle ground, which I think is an incentive to address this situation. And I just want to thank all of you for considering this. It's really important.
Thank you. Senator Byrne.
I was just curious, the ones that's tougher, tell us what the difference is then.
Once it's what?
The states that you say that are tougher regulation.
Well,
on
the
this.
one in Alabama, their language says that, I believe theirs says that the driver as well is subject to a $50,000 fine. I believe in this language it says 5. Also in Alabama, it says that if you're involved in that as the carrier, you're not allowed to do business in the state at all until it's resolved. So there are some other tough things that that are probably necessary at some point as well. But this is good language. That'll certainly get some attention.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Cody?
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Cody Eckert. I'm the Legislative Director at the Indiana BMV. With me is Matt Keston, BMV General Counsel. We'd be happy to answer any questions of the committee, and rather than belabor the points that Representative Pressel explained about the bill, happy to make ourselves available for questions.
Any questions? Senator Byrne?
Yeah, so I asked about the proctoring side. How do we, is there any rules that you would have in place on to make sure those are secure? You know, like I say, I know from a previous bill I've had that proctoring, what guidelines will you have in place?
So at this point, we're really looking into, the law as it stands now requires the knowledge tests occur in a branch. And so this is step one in figuring out a way to have a proctored exam outside of a branch. And so the difficulty for, I'm a parent of a teenager, so I recently went through this. They get out of school, they go to a branch, and there's a limited period of time that the branch is open after school. So the idea here is, would we be able to offer a proctored exam maybe at school or at an education center, where, you know, just like professional testing, they can go into an education center and be able to take the knowledge test there? Or is it a test that they could take through their driving school and where it's proctored by their driving school? We've learned that other jurisdictions there are established programs out there where, whether it's through one of those services, some also have an in-home version where, you know, there are cameras on the person. We'd like to see which route we go, and then be able to establish rules on that. But I mean, we're not jumping in with both feet. This is just a first step.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Pressel, you need to close?
I don't know that I really need to close. Maybe a little bit of clarity when we start talking about the remote testing. I want to again mention this does not apply to a CDL driver, right? We want to make sure that if you're a CDL driver, you're going to take that exam where we can monitor that, we being BMV. So some clarity there. I would appreciate your support.
Okay, will the committee? Call the roll.
Senator Kreider?
Yes.
Senator Toms?
Yes.
Senator Dorio? Senator Charbonneau? Senator Maxwell?
Yes.
Senator Buck?
Aye.
Senator Byrne?
Aye.
Senator Spencer?
Yes.
Senator Ford?
Yes.
8-0.
Passes 8-0. Thank you.